Hello everyone, welcome back. I am AlexStudiosinc, and right here joining me is Robot Nerd and Hydro TV.
Hey everyone.
Yeah, welcome to today's newest episode of the ImmersiFiles, in which today we'll be pretty much discussing about Scratch's Elites.
Our favorite
Yeah, so today we'll be
subject.
discussing
Yes, our favorite
how
subject in the entire Immersiverse since the introduction of Scratch. Essentially.
how how strategy is going to be going moving forward from today. So yeah.
Mhm.
Of course, join here with me and Alex. We have Hydro TV, who was the director of episode 2. So, Hydro, would you like to
Yep.
introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Hydra TV. As Robot said, I'm the director of episode 2. Former director of the project. I think I kind of ceded that to Alex. And yeah, I mean, I work for the Immersiverse. I do stuff for the Immersiverse sometimes, not as much anymore, but I'm a producer, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
All
I'm
right.
I'm also the newer director for the future of Scratch the Slates, mainly episode 3, and hopefully episode 4 too. So, yeah.
There was a point where we had like 3 directors at one point for episode 2.
Yeah, like Wally Tin Zero,
Yeah.
then Hydro TV, then all of a sudden AlexStudiosinc.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think after Wally left, it was like between you and Hydro. Then Hunted said he was going to direct, but then he never really did anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Hunted Scully
It did
left.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hydro, so we know that you were involved in the first episode to some extent. Can you tell us like what you did?
Yeah, so I started out, I played the role of like a basically kind of like a project manager, sort of, like, because that's kind of how animated film directors kind of work. Is I would animate some scenes. I would try to sort out who is animating what scenes, and then at the end I would compile them all together to make the episode itself. So then that would be comprised of multiple scenes. Um, and yeah, that was basically what I did. The extent of what I did working on episode 2 is basically project managing.
Pretty
For
nice.
episode 1, while Wally was here directing, right? Is it correct that you were an animator for Wally?
Me or Alex?
You.
Oh yeah, that's correct. I was an animator for Wally. Um, and then I still animated even when I became a director, so yeah.
So you were pretty much involved from the very beginning, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I remember back when he pitched it to me. He back in like I don't know, it would have to be like early 2021 at this point. So I wasn't involved in like the initial creative process or the script writing process, but I was aware of it from the get go, and then I only really became a major like I suppose I only became a major like contributor after the audition process, I think.
Wait, do you know when Wally himself started the project? Because I know that the Unfamous wrapped up in December 2020, and then episode 1 came out in like August or September of 2021. Like, did he
Yeah, I think
like start?
he had to have pitched it to me back in like winter of 2021. I don't really remember what the exact date is. I think I have a
Wait, you mean
screenshot, but I
2020?
don't think it shows the time. I'd have to estimate. Like I could go through my comments on my profile, but I think it's I don't even know if it's there at this point.
Yeah, it's probably like all the way down, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, so what made you decide to take up the mantle of episode 2 after Wally left?
Well, it was at a time where I was starting to have a lot more free time, and I was interested in maintaining Wally's vision because I'd kind of endeared myself to him creatively and artistically, and I'd endeared myself to the Immersiverse creatively and artistically at that time. So I wanted to try to continue his legacy, sort of, was my initial motivation. And then once I started picking up the project, I started having my own vision for it, and then there was a voice and a story that I wanted to tell in there, sort of about, what I think Wally was trying to get at was he was trying to write a love letter to the community and try to reconcile parts of try to reconcile all of the community, and that's what I tried to do with the second episode.
And like how did it like impact you like on a personal level, on like both a personal and a social level? Because like we know that like episode 2 had like a pretty messy production from like between 2022 and 2023.
Oh, it was. Can you repeat the question, actually?
Yeah, how did it like impact you on like a personal and social level?
It was a very draining process because it was very hard to the way it was kind of left. I had to kind of reverse engineer the production process from the ground up, and that took up a lot of my time and my sanity. And then I had to try to develop a system where like people were like, I don't know, where I had to just make sure we were productive and on time with our schedule, and that was a whole other can of worms. And so, yeah, I would say that despite the episode itself being rewarding, despite the me doing this being rewarding, it was still a very draining process for me personally. But I think it paid off.
Wait, could you remind me like what in what year of high school were you in like during episode 2 production?
I start. this is this is this is embarrassing to say. I took the mantle up when I was a freshman. And
Wait,
then
what?
so it was like March of 2022 when Wally like resigned officially, and I was a freshman at that
Yeah.
time. I took up the mantle, and then I think I resigned in the start of my junior year. So there was like basically an entire year of my high school experience that I was spent mostly doing Scratches Elites episode 2.
May
Wow.
I add to that?
Like
Yeah, sure.
Um, it kind
yeah.
of back then it actually kind of scared me a little bit when Wally left because I just feared that we're pretty much all on our own for the rest of Scratches Late. So it's pretty happy that you pretty much took the mantle for episode 2. It really helped kick up a little bit for the Immersiverse.
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
agree. Cause like in the days that after Wally left, like the state of the production server was like absolute chaos. Like nobody knew what was going on.
yeah,
Like we didn't know how we were gonna move forward. Like it was just a
yeah.
mess.
hmm
And I think
I
like with
remember.
Hydra like picking up SE, it kind of like restored us some sort of balance. Yeah.
Um,
But you mentioned that Hydro. You mentioned that the bulk of your time spending on scratch sleeves was in your sophomore year or in your freshman year, right?
sophomore year. The bulk of my time was in my sophomore year. I
Sophomore
started freshman year though.
or freshman year, yeah. Was there like any trouble navigating between like school and this project?
Oh, absolutely. I think that it's because both of those were very demanding commitments, and I was trying very hard to just maintain academically. And so, it was definitely stressful to come home every day. It was like I kind of wanted to go home and do homework or something like that. And there was some kind of production issue going on that I had to sort out or something like that. And so the initial process of it was very stressful, but I actually talked to Rocket. He helped me through it. It's tricky trying to find I guess the way I would describe it is it's trying to find a work-life balance where you have to not let one side completely eclipse the other. So eventually I worked that out it took me a while for me to figure that out, but like in like the late fall of my sophomore year, I finally managed to do that. To find like a proper work-life balance. But you know, it was before that. It was kind of particularly demanding, especially with. Are we allowed to talk about? And I'm gonna type it in chat.
Wait, now I'm kind of scared now.
Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, you're allowed
Okay.
to.
Okay. That was a stressful time in my life because that was like when there was this one particular stressful time in the production of Scratch's Elites where I was not doing like the production was not doing well. I could not like get people to animate their scenes. I could not like I could not construct a realistic time frame. And so it was a very stressful time. And then on top of that, I was trying to manage doing cross country then. Um, but then there was something that happened where a former collaborator came out against, or not really against us, but um, had critiqued us after retiring and cutting ties with the Immersiverse, and the amount of flack that I got for that. I mean, I couldn't even like go on the official Immersiverse studio at some points because it was just this whole stressful situation because it was just I was putting in so much time and effort trying to pump Scratch's Elites out. I was being told that I was overambitious almost every day by some random new person on the studio. Um, I was told that the Immersiverse were a bunch of frauds by some random person in the studio. And to be fair, the ex collaborators' critiques were they were very measured, they were very valid, but it came at a time in my life where I was capitulating under a lot of stress, and it made me capitulate even more because now that kind of I think it ended up vindicating a lot of kind of dialogue that I had seen where I was very much struggling to kind of deal with flack that I was getting and the Immersiverse itself as a whole was getting. And so that was the time I had to step away temporarily. Um, I guess that would be one example of me struggling to find a work life balance is that. And to be clear, I don't harbor any kind of negativity towards this collaborator or any kind of animosity towards them. So
Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean. I, I still remember like some of his criticism, and I still completely agree with it. Like, it's still something that I remember to this day that
yeah,
I'm trying to keep in my mind like as we keep moving forward. Um, I think his criticism was completely valid. It's just that the aftermath is what got to us. Like the overall
yeah.
response from the public is just what really got to us.
It's just so much like so many comments of like the Immersiverse is dead, give up, or like the Immersiverse is dead, you need to
Yeah,
reboot it with
let's
something
see.
bigger. Yeah. Or, you know, it was yeah, but let's move on. I don't want to dwell on the
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah, it's pretty negative. It's pretty negative time from the past. But if you had like anything you could change in the way that you carried out production, what would that be?
I would say just set a more realistic time frame for myself, but also I think like just I don't know. I think that I would have handled that kind of. I think that part of like why I was hard for me to handle that kind of stuff at the time was because I was only like 15 and I didn't know how to emotionally process any of this. And so it was basically like my first exposure to like cancel culture, basically, where I was like, Hydro is over party or the Immersiverse is over party, and didn't know how to properly like process that. I think I do now. I think that I have a lot more support now, and so yeah, I think those two things. Like, I think I would have. I think like looking back, I would have structured at least initially how I would have animation better, and then processed and taking criticism better. So those two things.
Yeah,
Alex, what
like
about
going back
you?
to what you said about
Hmm?
Yeah, sorry, you can.
Oh.
Never mind. Sorry.
yeah, going back to what you said about like the work-life balance thing, right? I think for all of us here, for like a long period of time, like we all struggled at some point to like balance this whole endeavor with like our academics, you know. It's like at the end of the day,
Yeah,
bro, like the youngest person on this team is like I don't know, 16 or 17, and the oldest is somewhere like the low 20s. It's like at the end of the day, like we're all still like young
maybe.
adults or teens, like trying to like figure out our way to
Yeah,
like navigate through everything, you know? Like even right now, like
yeah,
this entire year, my junior year, I struggle with like my academics, you know, like trying to bring my grade up to a point where I was happy with it, while also
yeah,
like trying to like manage like the whole like I don't know, like the internal operations of the Immersiverse, you know?
yeah. No, it's very hard to find that balance, and it's something I think we're all working on. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Yeah, so
we'll find it.
like the people who have always just said that like they want to be like Immersiverse heads or something, like I don't think they realize just like how draining like this whole endeavor is, you know?
Yeah, it's a very intensive process, I think. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's not like unfulfilling. Like, like when we finally like dropped Scratches Elites episode 2, that was an incredible high point in my school year. Um, but it's just it takes a lot of effort, I think. And that's one of the reasons why I stepped down from like more producer duties recently, is because I just couldn't handle the kind of um how intensive it was. I mean, I needed to prioritize myself a lot more. And so, um while I chime in to drop my wisdom in once in a while, I still like there's like a general planning channel. I don't read that very often. I don't read a lot of the stuff often, but I still make the effort to talk and engage with you guys. Um and yeah.
I mean, I would say like after all you went through, I think honestly you deserve a break,
Yeah,
you know?
no, I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Mm.
I still have like all of my storyboards like for Scratches Elites episode 3 and 4 saved on my computer. I don't know what to do with them. So,
Well, personally, I don't really tend to work with storyboards at all because
yeah.
everything just, these storyboards are all in my mind and I can pretty visualize them pretty well, so there's no really need for storyboards or anything.
Yeah. That's gonna change if you want to like go into professional animation though, Alex.
Yeah, maybe. Probably. Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Oh yeah, Hydra, one more
um,
question.
oh,
Um,
someone
what do you
joined the
think, well, you personally, what do you think went wrong with Scratch Leaks and like how would you have fixed it? Like what went wrong during
uh
production?
sound design. Sound design is a huge issue. Like, oh my
Oh,
gosh. This is
yeah.
why I wish Yeah, this is why I wish that like what we put out was YouTube exclusive, which is I really regret like putting it like having to make a scratch copy as well, because sound design is such an important part of filmmaking, and I messed up. Oh my gosh, dude. Um there was like half the time you could like barely hear the dialogue, and just trying to adjust levels in the scratch editor on like a
Yeah.
project that massive.
Yeah, those are
It's
just pretty
it's
loud.
so It's yeah, it's just so it's not even like it's not even funny, really. So there's that. I think that I would have. I think that one of the reasons why Scratches Elite episode 3 failed under my direction is because I put too much faith in the chunk system, and I didn't expect that people were just too burnt out at that point to continue. And so I think that
To be honest, though,
acknowledging that.
To be honest, I honestly thought the chunk system was actually gonna work a little better than the previous system that episode 2 used.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
You know, but I planned so much for like episodes 2 and 3, and you know, it's disappointing a bit knowing that like I couldn't finish it, but at the end of the day, I think that like Wally's fine with that. Tiny Pig is fine with that, as incognito as he is now. And I'm fine with that. So it's trying to cultivate like a proper work-life balance, um, while also trying to be realistic about fulfilling like our artistic visions, I think is what the moral of Scratch's Elites is. But in terms of also like what went wrong, I think I put too much pressure on the animators at first. I think I had very unrealistic expectations. I also think that I had a huge ego problem when I started it out. Alex knows this. He bore the
Yeah.
brunt of this, and I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
because I had a lot of creative control issues, and I think I shouldn't have been as much of a control freak as I was behind the scenes.
yeah.
Again, in my defense, it's not an excuse, but I was 15 and I was not like emotionally and mentally equipped to take on a project of this size. Um, so there is that. Obviously, that doesn't excuse that kind of behavior, but I think it certainly explains that kind of behavior. Um, but I think that what else did I fail at? This is so flagellant. This feels like self-flagellation. This question. What else did I fail at? Else. There's got to be more that I can talk about. I
I mean,
didn't like
honestly, I
instate.
think that you did the best that you could with like what you had.
I appreciate it. I think that like I only like submitted a real plan after working with Alex after like when did we submit that? Like the action plan with like the balloon deadlines and everything like that. And
Wait, the what?
you remember how I like proposed like the stuff with the balloon deadlines and the working dates? I only came up with that. I only
I
had like a working
vaguely remember.
schedule around like it was like early spring, I think, of 2023. And so not taking my time to fully assess the entire project, instead trying to power through it at first, I think definitely like compromised it a lot in the early stages. Um, there's a lot of things I would do differently if I had control, if I could go back now, but I think that I just have to accept that what's done is done, and I made the I made the project that I could, the best I could under the limitations of my abilities at that time. So if
Yeah, I
that
think
answers your
like
question.
part of this is like trying to just come to terms like what happened in the past, just like moving on. Like what's
Yeah,
done is done. You can't change anything that happened.
yeah.
Yeah. We have a couple more questions for you if you don't mind.
I don't
So
mind.
I guess some audience might wonder: Are you leaving the Immersiverse, or are you staying, or are you taking more of a backseat approach?
I think I think I've been taking a backseat approach lately. I think that maybe in college I might like I've toyed with the idea of making like a one shot for Hydro, but I don't think it's the best idea, and I don't think I'll ever like. I want to be able to like fully write it out and make it before I announce anything. Um, but I think that in terms of like, I think that I'm definitely content to like assist you guys and offer my creative insights, but I don't think I'll ever be at the front lines as intensively as I used to be. I think that now I have some of my own priorities to focus on, and I don't know. Maybe if time allows, I might come back. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I have no idea. I've toyed with the idea of like, because someone who's actually in this voice chat right now, your local immersion addict, actually like started doing some written stuff.
Hey,
She
Saul.
wrote Unfamous Reignited. Saul, Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Howler, and I knew that's incorrect. Sorry, sorry, Saul. But yeah, I've definitely like teased with the idea of like writing for AO3 and then putting that out for as an Immersiverse project. I'm not dead naming her. No, I don't stop it in chat.
Don't you dare dead name her, Hydro.
Sorry, I respect your. I
Okay,
just keep
yeah,
forgetting. That's all.
let's calm down
I'm
now.
not trying to be insensitive. Shoot. Um.
No, I
Anyway,
think
what was I saying? Yeah,
calm down.
written stuff. AO3. Not fan fiction, but like on my AO3 account, like doing written fiction. For the Immersiverse, maybe because that's like what I can realistically do. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. Sorry. I hope
Yeah,
that
I
answers
like,
your question.
yeah, as someone who's like going to college application this year, like I personally have no idea what's gonna happen to my commitment over here. Like I wish I would love to like remain more involved, but like the near future is like almost uncertain, if that makes sense. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And also, no promises on the written stuff. No promises on that Hydro one shot because I do not want to be teasing that for the next 3 years with like
Yeah,
no fulfillment of that promise.
I
Okay.
don't think you should have like gone into detail about that, you know?
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe we can
Yeah.
like, cut that out or something. I don't know. No, don't cut that out. That'll be funny.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
after from your experience from Scratch Leaks episode 2, what advice would you have for the Immersiverse as a whole, or like any other scratchers who are looking to make their own series, you know?
Actually, like I made a project for ScratchCon a few years back about making series. So I'm gonna try to remember some tips from that. Also, you should go to that project and like and favorite it
The
if you're listening
advertisement,
to this.
right? The
Yeah.
advertisement.
Hashtag not sponsored. Yeah. If you have make sure you have a script. That's the first thing because I think a lot of people, like including myself, have like done improvisational series. And what happens more often than not is that they don't pan out. So make sure you have some kind of script, have a plan. And
I think
also,
that's
if you
what
have a script,
the
if you have
original
a
idea.
script, send it to your voice actors and get the voice acting as soon as possible. Because if you don't, then that becomes a headache when they like leave Scratch and you're kind of starved to wait until they get back for voice lines.
Also,
Also,
uh, you can't have a script without an outline, and you can't have an outline without a story.
yep, that too. That too.
Yeah, like make sure like
Um,
you get all your ideas down on one sheet first before like making outline and then going on into a script.
And also you can't
yeah,
have a story without an idea too. Thanks, all.
Yeah.
yeah. So have ideas. Have
Like
ideas.
it's like a whole like
Mhm.
long process. Like it takes a lot longer than people think, you know. Like
Yeah. The
so
Scratch
like some
Saga
some of
took
the,
like years to make. So,
like
Yeah,
I don't
and
know
that's
how
only
long Soul had
and
in her mind, but like some of the we have like they take a long time to like plan out, you know.
yeah,
yeah. I don't know how many drafts like Scratch Revolutions has gone through, but it's
Oh,
very
it's
oh
gone through
yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
yeah.
We don't talk about
Dude,
that here.
should we cut this out as well? Uh,
No,
Nah,
editor.
I mean, no need
I think we're
to.
fine.
Yeah, we're fine.
Don't need it. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, that's my
Yeah,
bad.
to my understanding, Chaos War is like still going through like some minor rewrites, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of what else did I say in my series project? Yeah, make sure you have a time frame too, because that's also very important. Because you don't want to be stuck with your series in purgatory for years. Just like map out and like schedule out like what you're going to animate each day, or what you're going to animate each week. Make sure you have some kind of plan. Just just give it structure is really what my advice is. So anyone can do it. You just have to make up your mind. If I can do it, you can do it as well. That's really all there is to it.
I think like most of it is more mentality than actual animating. Like if you're like 100% committed to this, then you're able to get this done. But if you're like hesitant in some way, then you're going to struggle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That too.
Yeah. Well, alrighty. I believe this is gonna wrap up for today's episode of the ImmersiFiles. Thank you all guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
Next month,
Okay.
where we're
Can I do
going
the
with,
outro?
Sure.
I mean, you can have an
Can you
outro
read
to
a
show
poem
us.
for the outro? Can I read a
Yeah, I mean, you
poem
can
for the
try to
outro?
sing something.
Hello?
You're here.
But yeah, Hydro, you should try to like sing something.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna read Ozymandias by Percy Shelley.
I mean, okay, I guess that works
I
too.
think that it's very like reflective of my role as a contributor in the Immersiverse. Here we go.
Well,
Let's hear it.
I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away."
Oh,
That
that
was
was beautiful.
Ozymandias with
That
Percy
was
Shelley.
beautiful. Glorious.
wow,
Thank you.
that was glorious. Alrighty.
Yeah, I
Sorry to
think.
hijack your outro.
Nah, you're
I
good.
mean, we don't really have outro anyways,
Yeah.
so you're fine. You're cool.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
See you guys later.